Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Secret Roots podcast, where I am so excited to bring to you the one and only Sabrina Lynn from Rewilding. Welcome, Sabrina.
Oh, it's so good to be here. I'm just beaming. I'm full of excitement and joy and love and just beaming. I can barely contain myself, and this is not normal on interviews and with others. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen today with us.
Me too, me too. We can feel the energy really high, so let's see where she guides us. So, for
Yeah.
those who do not know you, Sabrina, what do you do? Who are you? What's your mission on this planet?
I am the crazy witch living on a hill in
I love
California.
that.
No. Um, oh gosh, I create wild and crazy experiential journeys is probably the the thing that's the truest for me to say. Programs and journeys and ways for us to tap into a deeper truth, into our own knowings, our own intuitions, our own connection to the divine. Yeah, it's probably enough. I've been doing this for a long time. A long time. I've done lots and lots of programs, lots of mystery schools, lots of retreats, in person, online, for a long time. So, yeah.
Yeah, when did you start actually? How long have you been doing that?
I started rewilding for women 9 years ago, and had worked in different meditation fields and different kind of facilitator roles for a couple of years before that. But officially, Rewilding for Women started 9 years ago.
I'm curious. You've been doing this in past lives as well, right?
Yes, although I'm not sure that I was doing it quite as cleanly, let's
Oh,
say, as I've been able to do it in this life thus far, right? And of course, it's a constant
yeah,
evolution. But
nice.
yeah, this is none of this feels new to me. It feels different, I would say, but it doesn't feel new per se.
Beautiful. So we're both really passionate about bringing the feminine back, giving her place back in the collective, but mostly within each and every one of us, men and woman included. Maybe I should say woman and man included, because men also have that feminine energy. What was your journey with the divine feminine? When did you realize that, oh, it is time for me to start exploring this, and it's just opened a whole new door that I knew nothing about?
Yeah, it was very interesting for me because I was on a very masculine spiritual path for, gosh, I would say maybe 10 years, almost a decade of just very masculine based practice, very masculine essence, everything that I was doing in my spirituality. And I knew something was missing, but I had zero concept of the feminine. I had zero concept that there was another whole side to the coin.
Yeah.
And I was really interested in how did it happen? I'm trying to think of the kind of the first little thread. I wound up in Australia and on a Mary Magdalene line,
Mm.
working with some women who were like working this Mary, and I had no idea of any of this Mary Magdalene ley line, and we were doing anointing ceremonies and foot bathing and rituals. And I was like, wait, how did I get here? What is this? And it wasn't quite clicking. I was understanding that this was a piece of something. This was definitely part of the spiritual path, but there wasn't enough juice in it. It was so strange to me. Mary Magdalene has a whole different level of juice now. But back then I was just this little baby and like, I don't know, this is wild. I'm washing feet. It feels great. And there's a lot of love. And I just am in love with everyone. But I don't know. There's like no juice. And then I ended up on a sacred union retreat. And I went there thinking I was just listening to an author, Andrew Harvey, actually. Went there just thinking I was listening to him talk on sacred union because he was talking about Mary Magdalene and Black Madonna, who I knew nothing about, and union. And I'm like, wow, I'm really steeped in the Christ path. And I'm starting to feel into this Mary Magdalene thing. Maybe this will explain something. And that was when it really hit me. That was when it really hit me.
I love it.
I thought I was going there to listen to a talk, and I was actually going there for one of the biggest awakenings of my life.
I feel that Mary Magdalene really often shows up when it is time for us to explore the divine feminine. For some reason, it's like a book that we're going to be advised to read. Or for me, it was very much when the Sophia Code ended up in my hands. The chapter about Mary Magdalene was just like, there was fire everywhere inside of me. I was like, oh my God. So then I kept exploring it. And I mean, now like it's a whole other journey and it's really
Yeah.
intense. And I see as well, is that also something you're observing? That there's like a rise of interest around Mary Magdalene right now. It's like crazy. People who weren't interested in her 3-4 months ago now are binging all the books.
Yeah. It's, if I can talk very candidly, she's like a gateway drug into the feminine, right? She's such a, and that's like one of her greatest gifts is her allurement, right? Is her allurement, is her magnetism, is her just like gentle love into the feminine. She's just like, yeah, like here is radiance and here is joy and here is some sensuality and here is this. And then you kind of start to, this is how I see a lot of, this was how it was for me for sure. And how I see a lot of other women who I've worked with. They're like, oh yeah, yeah. And then the fullness of the feminine comes, they're like, wow.
But she's also really strong and really independent. And I mean, she's a whole spiritual teacher in and of itself. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just her sovereignty. Her, I always say like the words whole unto self when I feel into Mary Magdalene. And, I feel like her mysteries are, there is endless depth to Mary Magdalene's mysteries for sure.
oh
And
yeah.
so like, don't let that, my term gateway drug, at all diminish the mysteries held within Mary Magdalene. But I just see one of her roles as the allurement into the feminine path.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm curious, can you share a little bit about, that whole journey of then having that awakening around the feminine, coming back to your feminine energy, embodying that? What was the aspect of the wounded, the unintegrated feminine that was the hardest for you to transmute?
Yeah. Which one wasn't is maybe a better question. That particular awakening was a really rough one for me. It was, it was, so when I had that big one, it was more along the lines of Black Madonna. It was experientially embodying and working with the dark goddess, Black Madonna, Kali, Black Moon. And that's when the big awakening came for me. And so it really woke up wild feminine.
Mm,
The deeply repressed parts of my feminine, the
mm,
deeply devalued, the places, the parts of the feminine that I put no value on, that I judged very harshly. And it was things around the intensity of my emotions, like the depth of my emotions, my incredible sensitivity, and just how extraordinarily intuitive and empathic and sensitive that part of myself is. And that just woke up fully, and all of my judgment around that, and the way that I tried to numb that or put walls up to try to protect myself, because I didn't know how to deal with that much juice or that much emotion or that much energy or that much intensity running through me. And I could also say, if I'm giving kind of tangible things, the sexuality, just that level of sexual energy waking up in me was really, and all the judgment around that. And like the absorbed conditioning around that, the family patterning, all of that stuff. And it was like, but I don't know what to do with this much juice. Like, I don't know. So it was like sitting on a volcano. It was just like a volcano erupted in me of so much emotion, so much life force, so much sexual energy, so much creativity, just so much. And it all came very fast in that one.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I feel that that sexual energy is suppressed for so many of us because of years and generations of conditioning. And the more I walk the sacred path of reclaiming the feminine and teaching about it, the more I realize it's actually a doorway as well into our power, into our creativity, into reconnecting with the divine. And it's so suppressed because it's so powerful for us women, but also for men, because men can experience that godlike experience through women as well when we make love, when we do it consciously, when we make the energy circulate. And it's actually so sad that it's been taken away from all of us, men and women, in the past centuries. Of course, this was done on purpose. And I think this is why now it's coming back, because it's like, enough. We've all been suppressed for way too long, men and women.
I have chills as you're speaking that, just chills everywhere.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I, yeah, there's so much to say on the topic. I don't even know where to begin.
I know, I was going to say, like, we could completely go down sacred sexuality and talk about that the whole time if we really wanted to.
Maybe we should do another episode because there's a lot to say on that. So if you're happy to come back.
I am so happy to talk about it. It's one of the things that's very near and dear to my heart, and something I hold, just I hold it in very, very high regard,
Yeah.
and really honor the empowerment behind it. The just what it brings us, what it brings, the healing capacities that, and the empowerment capacities that it brings us and other. It's not just us, it's that ripple effect out into, and not even just my lover, it's my friends, my community, the way I raise my babies, the way I treat every human being, the planet, so
Yeah.
yes, I just,
We'll do another episode on that. Today, we did want to go in one direction that is like, it's very timely, it's connected to the energies of the moment, which are those new earth energies that are really flooding the earth right now. So we have this huge rise of the feminine and this huge rise of the new earth energies. And before trying to understand what that really creates together, can you share a little bit with us, in your perspective, what are these new earth energies? Why are they coming now? How is that impacting us?
yeah, it's gonna be, I just want to like lay down a caveat of, one, I only know what I know. And that's what I want to speak to, is just what I've witnessed, what I've worked with, what some of the rewilding circles have embodied and worked with around what we're calling new earth. And I don't even know that that's the right term. It's just, I think, something that we're kind of using to talk about the same thing. Like I just had this huge conversation with someone and she's so adamant and I completely see her point of view. And so I just kind of want to throw this out there too, as we start this, just to, I don't know, maybe open our minds a little bit. And it's this conversation around, it's not new. She's like, it's not new. It's just truer. It's not new. It's
Actually,
just
ancient.
like higher vibration. There's nothing new about it necessarily. And so I kind of want to just poke at that, like whether it is new or it's not new or remembering. I keep like I'm reading that word in some of your different things, and I heard you say it today, and I'm like, yes, because I feel that piece of it too. So it's like new but ancient, potentially. I don't know. Maybe it's completely new. And so I just wanted to kind of speak that to hopefully help everyone be on the same page who might be like, New Earth, whatever, that's woo-woo out there. But hopefully there's something in this conversation that really serves or opens up something for someone. And I'd love to start with sharing what happened in an in-person retreat while we were working in this energy. And I think that's maybe a springboard into the conversation, if that works.
Go ahead.
Okay. It was a 4-day in-person retreat, very high-level practitioners, and we're working on this ley line. I kind of have just called it the dragon line, and anyways, it's very much about the harmony and the balance of the masculine and the feminine on this line. But it's the feminine, honoring the feminine in a way, because originally on this line it was very, very sacred feminine, kind of run over by masculine. The hill out behind me is called Bishop's Peak. Locals call it Her Majesty. Right? So it was originally like Her Majesty, run over and renamed as Bishop's Peak. There's a lot of like Catholic Church came in and just wiped out indigenous tribes. And so anyways, that's just a tiny little bit of a feel into the story that I'd love to share. And so we're working 4 days on this line of sacred union, working with dragon energy, which dragon energy to me is a form of Kundalini. To me, it's almost like a different form of Kundalini than the one where we talk about it as a serpent form. So the dragon energy that I work with, it's Kundalini-like energy. It's a spiritual awakening energy, but it comes in dragon form. Anyways, that's just another little side note. And so that's part of the new earth energy, I think, too. So we can kind of put that in there too. That's more of what's been explored. I held a whole mystery school around this dragon energy and this kind of new form of Kundalini. And it's very linked to alchemy. It's also very linked. So when working with that particular form of Kundalini in the form of the dragon, which is like the serpent waking up, but it already has its wings, right? So it's still serpent form, but it already has its wings, and it brings these interesting gifts of alchemy or wisdom. It kind of imbues a person with alchemical capacities, right? It's mind-blowing to me what happened in this mystery school. And the other piece around it is it's really, really focused, and I feel this around New Earth energy, is it's really, really focused on supporting each individual to step into their unique genius at this moment in time. Like, it is you stepping into your unique genius that is the thing that serves this world the most, right? It's like, yes, your full potentials, embody it, embrace it, and express it out into the world. That is the greatest thing that we can do, and that's the thing that we want to wake up in you. So when working with this particular form of Kundalini, it's very much about the embodiment, the awakening and the embodiment and the expression outward into your life, your greatest spiritual gifts, your greatest potential, your highest potential. And it is relentless energy. and there's more to you, and there's more to your genius, and you're hiding, and you're skating around, and you're playing it safe, and you're playing it small, right? It's like, okay, right? And you're not expressing it outward, and you're still hiding in a closet about it, and just tell them you're a fucking witch. You're a witch. Tell them you're a witch. Act like a witch. Do your witchy gifts, because that's what the world needs, right? That's so. I mean, all of this that I'm talking about is this kind of new earth energy. I'm about to link it to the feminine with the story about the retreat. So this in-person retreat came on the heels of that mystery school. So that mystery school, and when I hold a mystery school, it's very much the mysteries that I've embodied, but the mystery school is actually also a container that allows for the mysteries to reveal themselves. It allows, like, that's the point of it. And for everyone to wake up to the exact mysteries that are meant to be revealed to them and the gifts that are meant to wake up in them. And so mystery schools to me are a mystery, just like they are to everyone else. It's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that this is the greatest thing we can be doing right now. So right off of this mystery school and all of those kind of mysteries getting revealed, which to me was very much new earth as a way of talking about it. New earth, the new form of Kundalini. And again, these are just ways of talking about things. We're at this retreat and it's day 4. So we've been working in the energy for 4 days. And as you know, like the Shakti builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And this is kind of the crescendo practice, which again, I don't know what's coming. I'm just reading the energy and following. And we get to a point where we're trying to find the best way of bringing words to a very esoteric experience.
Yeah, that's
the whole group is working, right? The whole group is working collectively. So everyone's working with the exact same thing and the same energy. And it's happening within and without. So it's waking up within self as well as outside beyond self. And what was happening was it was supporting the rise of the feminine. So I will sometimes, I wouldn't say that this was, I'll just share these words because it might help somebody. But I will sometimes work with the energy of her, like primordial feminine, like beyond the goddess archetypes, beyond like a deeper, like primordial ancient feminine. And so we kind of started to move into those depths of just real deep devotion to primordial feminine. And then it shifted into, okay, there's a rising that wants to happen, a feminine rising that wants to happen. And similar to how I was talking about the form of Kundalini coming with wings, right? Instead of just coming in serpent form, but with wings. And so there's this piece where we're working collectively and it's there is, and this is the way that it came out of my mouth as I'm facilitating this journey, is there's a winged creature because then it wasn't dragon form. It was beyond dragon form. And it would have been inappropriate for me to say there's a dragon when it was just winged creatures. For some, it looked like a butterfly. So we spoke about it after, obviously. And for some, it was actually just a serpent with wings. For some, it looked like a dragon. For some, it looked like a butterfly. For some, it looked like a phoenix. For some, it looked like other winged creatures. And that didn't matter what the symbolic nature of it was. That was a message for everyone individually, whatever was given to them, whatever symbol or form she was taking at the moment was something for each person individually. But what happened was she's coming, and the moment I spoke it to say, feel into the winged creature that is wanting to rise, everyone swamped her, right? Because we want to support, we want to like, oh, well, let me help. Let me burrow my consciousness in, like, let me zero in and focus, and like, I must have to do something. Like, and suddenly it was like, whoa, back up, back up. Like, you're drowning her. And it was, what ended up happening is, and this is all the teaching in the moment that we all got at that moment. And it was, back up. Consciousness needs to expand to give her the space. She knows how to rise. She knows exactly how to rise. We just need to give her the container of consciousness that's required, which is bigger, vaster, more, in order for her to rise in this fullness with these beautiful, glorious wings. And it was one heck of an activation for all of us. We had to, as a group, get to a level of consciousness that could hold, that could support and it was a masculine state. It was a masculine state of consciousness to support her rise. Because she wasn't coming unless we gave her enough space, right? Like, back off. I am way bigger than you think I am. And if you don't give me more consciousness, I am not moving. I can't move. And it was one of the most stunning experiences I've had in all, 30 years that I've been doing esoteric-y things. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I don't know where we want to go from there, but
I love that, because it really symbolizes that we are all dragons with wings. And as you kept sharing that, I kept seeing this image of the caduceus, the staff of Hermes, that is used in medicine as like the symbol of medicine, but that is actually such an ancient symbol. It's, the staff of Hermes, the staff of Moses. It's actually also the staff of thought, because they were one and all the same person. And it's really that symbol of, when you allow the kundalini to rise, the serpent to go all the way up, then those wings suddenly open and you can fly. And we can go further. You come back to your angelic origins of your soul. You come back to reuniting with the divine, truly. And so I love this story because it really illustrates it. It's like, you can completely spread your wings and fly, but you need the space to thrive. And it's really this idea as well of, if a flower doesn't bloom, don't blame the flower, blame the environment. And so you give
absolutely.
her all the space, all the support, all the consciousness she needed really to thrive. Which leads us to then asking ourselves, what is in my environment? What is preventing me from allowing those wings to be open? Because we're so good at blaming ourselves. It's my fault.
Yeah.
I missed out. I didn't do something right, especially as women. It's always our fault. And we're happy to do the inner work and do more shadow work. Well, yes, maybe, but maybe look at your environment. How is your environment not supporting you?
Yeah. Yeah. And we so often look at our feminine, right? Like, when we're wanting to cultivate our feminine, we zero in on the feminine. What can I do? My feminine. And it's like, if we turned and looked at our masculine and went, because for myself, my journey has been masculine evolution, feminine evolution, it's like a teeter-totter kind of a thing for me. And it's, to me, they're not separate. They're not separate. They're supporting each other's evolution and growth constantly. Whether we're aware of it or not is another story. And it was like, for me, I could only go so far on this transcendent masculine Shiva Christ consciousness path. And then whoosh, the feminine came roaring in. And that was like, oh my God. And then that exceeded my masculine level of embodied consciousness, right? Because then I was so all that, that. And then it was like out of, I don't know if it's, I hate the word balance, but it was like my masculine then wasn't evolved enough to support her growing anymore.
Hmm.
And so then the pendulum kind of has to swing over. And then it was like, okay, actually, if I were to develop my own capacity to hold, or my own capacity to create a protective space, or my own capacity, now my feminine can be even more wild and even more creative and more sexual and full of life and intuitive and all of the things. So just another kind of reflective question or different way of looking at
Yeah,
things.
I love that you added that because, like, having all the space to thrive, that's the masculine container that we need in order to expand. And it's true that sometimes we're like, oh, I need to embody my feminine more. Let's rest more. Let's slow down. Let's journal more. Let's reflect more. Let's connect more with our soul. And yes, amazing. Keep doing that. But also, do you have the structure in place to allow that to happen? Do you have the
Yeah.
support? Do you protect your energy as well when you connect with the invisible? Like, that masculine is actually, that's all the masculine wants to do. It's to support the feminine. That's when the masculine's really, really heavy. So how can you give more responsibility to your masculine to hold your feminine?
Absolutely. And also like what I've watched, at least in my life, and like those of people I work with that I'm close enough to really see and hear what happens in their lives, is for a lot of us, this isn't the path for all of us for sure, but for a lot of us, it's the cultivating that in myself then allows for me to attract that into my life in another. Right. But it's to me, I'm watching this as kind of part of this new earth, or seemingly where we're headed to with the feminine. It's not that I'm just cultivating my feminine and the masculine's going to show up as cultivated and as evolved outside of myself. It's that actually a lot of us are called in this new energy to cultivate both this divine union within this very high level masculine and very high level feminine, which support and dance and love and create with each other. And once we have that operating internally, wow, it's a piece of cake externally, right? Like relationships and the way we work with our team and the way we work with business and how we make money and all of these things in the world. It's now just this like beautiful divine union between other people or other groups or things or however it works. So that's a piece that I'm kind of seeing too in this, I don't know, this new earth or however we're sort of talking about it.
I love that. And so the way you're seeing it is that, like, this whole rising of the feminine really is an invitation actually to come back to sacred union. And that's definitely what I share as well in my book, The Path of Femininity. We just need to come back to the feminine because everything starts with the feminine and we've been stuck in the masculine. But deep down, it's to create that sacred union within ourselves. We don't want to reject the masculine. We need the masculine, and the masculine needs the feminine. It's like really both. And with that new ancient earth energy coming on top of it, it creates an acceleration of how can we create that sacred union and be connected to our genius to serve with that sacred union.
My whole body is doing a happy dance. That is a perfect way of kind of summarizing that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so for everybody that's listening to us, so this is impacting us, of course, at an individual level. And I see that people who are starting to wake up, or even those who already know about that, sometimes we can get stuck in, oh, my life is uncomfortable. There's a bit of chaos. I'm feeling cold to like change certain things. This is actually the beginning of the path, this discomfort, this misalignment, this feeling stuck, feeling lost, so that we can actually connect with that sacred union and our genius. So for anyone that is there in the discomfort, in the transition, what would you invite them to start with?
Ooh, that's such a good question. One of the most powerful practices that I've learned and do on at least a weekly basis is any kind of a rub or a discomfort, or if I kind of scan through my life, if I look at work and I look at family and I look at relationships and I look, just my health, or all the different areas of life, and I kind of scan through and I find a discomfort, right? Like, ooh, here's where I'm a little like, something's off, or there's a rub, and it can be very subtle. And sometimes in our life, everything feels wrong too, right? So sometimes it's like, I don't even fit in this life. What is this thing? So that's a very obvious one when it's to that degree. But the first thing that I would offer for someone to feel into is bring it closer. Because a lot of times we feel that discomfort and we push it away.
Yeah.
Or we avoid it, or we ignore it, or we're just like, oh my gosh, no. But the quicker that I can just like, wow, this is really weird, and it feels like, and I'm just gonna bring it closer. I'm going to get right in there. And my words to myself, and sometimes I'll share this with others, and this is a little bit raw, if that's all right. But it's like, I eat it, I fuck it, I love it, I breathe it, I smell it, I drink it. It's like, all right, this is crunchy, and there is something that's totally uncomfortable about this, but I'm just gonna really embrace it, is what I do. A friend of mine, she's like, yeah, I don't really know about this loving it thing. She's like, but I can eat it. I can definitely eat it, and I can smell it, and I can breathe it. The loving it and the fucking it parts for me, that's a little bit much for me. I was like, dude, whatever you got to do. Whatever you got to do. But the point of it is to embrace it. It's like the surrender, right? It's that high level wisdom of, we just kind of surrender over to it. And I then fall into the part of, and this too is perfect, right? It's like, first it's let me bring it closer, let me embrace it. And then I go, and this too is perfect. This is so perfect. It might be shadowy. It might be showing me something, and I'm going to have to walk through some hard stuff, but this too is perfect. This is part of my greatest path forward. And then it just kind of goes like that for me. It's just a quick.
I love it. It's really embracing our Cali, the Cali energy that's within us. It's just there to go and eat the shadow and make love to it and stick your tongue out and scare it away. And, just do whatever it takes to really understand why it's there and what it's teaching you, because it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
I love that.
Those are the greatest moments of my life.
Yeah.
Those are my greatest transformations. We talk so often, like, I want transformation, and I want change, and I want a better relationship, and I want a more soul-aligned career. It's in the rub. Like, the greatest shifts and the greatest transformations and the things that have led me to the greatest breakthroughs and deepening into intimacy or love or relationship or soul alignment, it's been in those places. But if we're new to it, we don't know.
Yeah.
And so there's like this like trust piece of like, oh God, like, but once you kind of walk the path a little further, you just know, and you kind of start to get excited. You're like, wow, things are not feeling good. This is great. Like, there's going to be something really good on the other side of this. And so
Yeah.
it's very easy to say now, but if I would have been looking back 20 years ago, whoo, there would have been a lot more resistance to that.
And I can definitely say that about like our time here in Bali. We arrived in Bali, we had missed our flight. It was super stressful. We arrived in a place and it was like in one of the busiest streets of Bali. Of course, you don't know when you book it on Airbnb and you've never seen the place. And everything was chaotic. We were sick all the time because it's like new climate, new food, new things, bronchitis. We had to go to the hospital. I mean, it was really chaos. And I was like, oh my God, this is way harder than I thought. You know, you're like, oh, I'm just going to Bali for a year. This is going to be super fun. But it's the energy of this portal. It's like
Yeah.
I call this place with my friends, we call it the washing machine because it just puts you upside down and it just washes everything that doesn't belong there. And so 1 month after the other, there was like more cleansing, more releasing, things that came up that I didn't even know were still inside of me from like my childhood, my divorce, like my parents, my family, all the things just coming up to be released, to be healed. And now we're like at the end of our trip, we're leaving in 1 month, and I'm like, wow, I am not the same person than I was when I arrived here. And oh God, was it uncomfortable? Yes. Was it also blissful to just come more home to myself? Oh, absolutely. Would I do it again? A million times.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to hear about what you see for the collective as the feminine's rising, as it's dancing with those ancient new earth energies. How do you see this being embodied and transform the collective in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years?
Wow. I love this question. I'm just going to go with whatever is kind of coming to mind. The first thing that jumps in is the feminine, us as humans, really developing this capacity to create from a state of being versus the masculine doing. So, really opening up and awakening to feminine magnetism. Feminine, it's like the allurement, but it's the literally moving mountains, creating in the physical world, not just energetic spell cast, whatever stuff. It's tangible, physical, moving things, creating things, calling things in, manifesting things from that feminine state of being. That I see coming on, and I like that's one of the things that I am so called to teach and to develop that capacity in myself more and more and more and more and more and more and more, so that I can hold that space for others and share that even more and more out into the world. So that's one of the kind of things that I would say I see coming for the feminine. Oh man, I'm ready to just unleash here because I can see so many things jumping in. Are we okay if I just I'm going to do it. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. There's a level of embodiment that we as humans, we think we've embodied the feminine and we're nowhere near the actual embodiment and expression of the feminine. We hold back so much. We are so terrified. We're happy to do it while we're dancing in a circle with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
But I ain't going into the boardroom and taking my shoes off and grounding the energy into the earth yet. So this is something I see that's going to be very challenging for those of us on the feminine path is, oh, you think you're walking your talk? Bullshit. You're talking your talk and you're walking it in a safe little circle with a bunch of other witches on the hill.
Yeah.
But when we asked you to take your shoes off in the boardroom and ground the energy, you didn't do it. Right. And like, I know I can raise my hand and say, there's times when I am in a public place and I know what would serve the moment. And I'm like, that's just a little too weird. Like, I am one crazy woman, one wild, weird woman who doesn't have a whole lot of give a fucks around stuff like that. But there are still moments where I'm like, not this one. Like, I'm going to have to build some stamina for that one because I'm not ready. So I feel like that is
Can I
heading my
share a
way.
little story about that?
Please, yes.
This reminds me so much of like last year, kind of 2 years ago, we started blessing our food with Rich and setting an intention before eating and thanking the earth, thanking the sun, thanking the vegetables, the consciousness of the animal. We're mostly vegetarian, but once a month we have meat. And it's something that we love to do because it brings so much more awareness to the moment and just giving our gratitude. And I also think you digest food much better. You're taking the nutrients more. So like there's so many benefits to doing that. And so it's our little ritual, and then we say what we're grateful for the day, etc. So it's a lovely moment that we spend in family, and we're happy to share that with our son that is just going to grow up with that. So now he's 2 years old, and every time the food arrives, he's just put his little teeny tiny hands like that, and then he looks at us super proud because he's blessing his food. So it's adorable. And so last summer, we had this conversation. I was like, are we going to do that in front of your parents too? And my parents? Like, they're not really on that same page. They're going to think we're crazy. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. Do we have to like completely show up? Or, if it creates too many waves, maybe we just keep it to ourselves. I was like, I'll do it in my family and then you decide for yours. And so when we were having dinner with my mother one evening, she puts the food on the table and then we close our eyes and we put our hands and she's looking at us and then we open our eyes and she was like, what just happened? Can you tell me what just happened? So I very simply said to her, well, we bless our food. I know you might think it's very Christian, but for us, it's really just an earth-based practice. And it's a way to thank the food and to ingest it better. She was like, okay. And then that was it.
Yeah.
So sometimes we make a whole thing about it.
I
And in the end,
know.
it's okay. We still didn't do it with his family, though. Oh, actually, that's not completely true. We didn't do it at the time, but his mom came to visit us here in Bali, and she saw us do it, but she didn't say anything. I think she's used to us being very weird now.
I love it. I love it. That's such a good, perfect example. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so important to stay in that integrity with ourselves, because otherwise we're still hiding. We're still in fear.
That's, and can I just play the other side of the coin too? It's like on one side, we can be hiding by not showing up. And then the other side of the coin, sometimes we're showing up to show off,
Yeah.
right? And it's not true. It's not what serves the moment. We're doing it from an ego place
Yeah.
still. So it's right. I just wanted to speak both of those
Yeah.
things
It's true.
just to like really hold all of us to that like fire of truth of
Yeah.
like really what serves the moment.
Yeah, guys, because we can also develop a spiritual ego sometimes. And be like, this is just who I am. Everybody has to accept me. I mean, yes, but if it's like to force it on others, and yeah, it's it's delicate.
Yeah,
You have to find the right balance.
I agree with you. And I think that's something else that's potentially coming is just this real calling out of the spiritualized ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm watching it slowly start to come, but I'm feeling it's,
Yeah, it's happening.
yeah.
It's happening.
That's all we need to say. Yep, it's happening.
I definitely see it in, people who intellectualize spirituality a lot and struggle to embody it more. Then it's
Yeah.
like, I know it all, and there's a lot of I know better than you, and also sometimes using spirituality to shame and be like, you are more spiritual, you should just accept everything, you should do an effort. And it's like, oh wow, Oh, wow. All right. This is where we're going now.
Like it's like spirituality got weaponized.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
some cases, it became this like, wait, what?
How does that
What?
make
What just
sense?
happened? What?
Yeah, it's like we're little babies that are learning to walk, really. We just still don't
Totally.
understand how to.
We do the best we can with what we got, and knowing that we're gonna get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for coming today on the podcast. It was such a joy to have you. And I
Thank you
cannot
so much
wait
for.
for session 2 on sacred sexuality.
Oh, this was just wonderful. Yeah, just thank you, and to everyone listening. Like, I don't know, just a lot of love. You're in such good hands.
If
Yeah.
anybody wants to connect with you, we're gonna share the link of your Instagram account, of course, in the podcast. In the podcast show notes. Is there anything that is coming up? Any offerings that you're doing that people could join or have a look at?
I believe that we are going to do a Rewilding Your Relationships 3-day challenge, which is a
Mm.
free challenge. And that's, I feel like we haven't completely locked in, but I know we will at some point. So that's maybe something to just kind of stay tuned to, and look out for, because that'll be a big one.
That's beautiful. Also very needed. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sabrina. See you so
Thank you
soon.
so much.